Welcome in to Check the Mic. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson. We're live on YouTube and we're back in the studio, Sam.
Back in the studio. Proper equipment, no longer holding a microphone that's not even working from a hotel room in the middle of Cork. Perfect. Season time.
We appreciate all those who have joined us on Check the Mic so far. It's been a little bit different so far. We've had a lot of questions, Sam. When is long form coming again? When are you going to be live on YouTube? When are you going to be live interacting with the chat as we always do? Well, we're here. And if you noticed, we're still, hanging out in the PFF studio. So appreciate the partnership with our friends over at PFF. And, we've just redone the place a little bit to look like Check the Mic.
Yeah, we did some redecorating.
We did.
We got new windows, I guess. Theoretically, those are supposed to be. But new photographs, pictures in the windows behind us. I see a Palazzolo jersey hanging up.
Got to put my jersey up there.
We still have the West Dublin Rhinos helmet on set.
I would be willing to remove the jersey in exchange for a fun presenting sponsor. Put your presenting sponsor right there over the Palazzolo jersey.
We should just put out Steve's cell phone number live on the show, and people can call Steve and arrange a sponsorship.
Just call me. Just call me directly.
Yeah.
So we have a great show today, and it's very professional. We've got the rundown.
Yep.
Got papers. We've got breaking news from the NFL. Cornerback resetting contract has been signed. We'll talk about that in a minute. We also have other breaking news. You and I have a new coworker that's been announced by some of the top NFL insiders, a coworker that we need to discuss here as well at the 33rd team. We're going to talk a little bit about the 49ers, Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams in town. They're back, ready to practice and go. Coach is on the hot seat. We have the great Dean Blandino also joining us to talk all things officiating. And then the listener bets that we do every year. And it was tough. You were in Ireland. It was tough to tell people, hey, send in your bets. Remember, we do this regularly. If you're a fan and we said something crazy and you're like, no, my Raiders are going to win 15 games and I'm going to put some coffee on the line to prove it. That's what we're doing. We're taking some listener bets here.
And we also have a whole new world because previously we would just give away PFF Plus because, it wasn't costing us anything.
That's right.
Now we actually have to come up with some collateral to bet. We're going to have to come up with something we can actually give somebody if they win.
Someday we will have some swag here. So I'm thinking it would be some Check the Mic swag. We'll have some hats and some shirts. We have time, right? By the end of the season, hopefully we'll have some of that stuff in hand, and we'll be able to send you a little swag package or something like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
That sound good? All right, you want to get into it?
Yep.
What are we talking about first? Receiver. Let's start with the cornerback contracts here. Patrick Surtain has reset the cornerback market, the highest paid defensive back
ever
in NFL history. Denver Broncos cornerback. Congrats to Patrick Surtain.
Absolutely, and this makes sense, right? We were speculating a little bit that a few of these contracts were on the horizon. When we talked about the sort of value contracts in the NFL, quarterbacks obviously have been going to the moon since the salary cap went up. Wide receivers have been following them. Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, all these deals exploding. The one cornerback, or the one position group rather, that's kind of been left behind has been cornerback. And the question is that a sort of acknowledgement of the volatility, the dependency that corners have on some of these other positions or on other things? Or have we simply just had a bad window of cornerbacks and the next run of contracts is actually about to reset that and to change that dynamic? And in that collection is obviously Sauce Gardner is on the horizon with a new deal, but Patrick Surtain is the first one of those to be done. And this, I think, is the first one of those contracts now to start resetting that market, leap forward in terms of cornerback money, catch up to wide receiver money a bit, and reset that whole dynamic.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my theory here that the league has not completely changed the market and gone toward interior defensive linemen rather than corners. I think it is simply a product of the names available at the given time. Patrick Surtain is clearly one of the top corners in the NFL. Young, very good, cornerstone type of piece. Sauce Gardner is going to be next as far as probably resetting the market at corner. Maybe look down a couple of years and you've got guys like Devin Witherspoon and Reek Woolen out in Seattle that are going to get paid. So I think that's what we're going to see at corner. They're going to start getting paid more in the defensive tackles. It wasn't this complete philosophical shift in the NFL where the defensive tackles were going to start getting paid more and corners are going to start getting paid less. I just think all the star defensive tackles came due at the same time, and now the star corners are going to come due at the right time, right?
Yep.
And there was never this clear-cut top corner, except maybe a Jalen Ramsey, but he was always a little bit older. There just wasn't that guy to reset the market until now, and I think we'll see a couple of them in the next couple of years.
That being said, even with this deal done, this extension, the first sort of in the line of big money contracts, you can still see the difference between, the top wide receiver money and the top cornerback money.
$24 million per year. It is a tick below some of these other positions.
Right. So we are, wide receiver is pushing north of 30. Guys like Justin Jefferson pushing it deep into the 30s. So even if we're comparing like for like, top of the market, cornerback is still a relative bargain. Like, as much as I think there will be a reset, like these guys are going to jump from 20 to 24, 25, 26, they're not going above 30. Like, there's still a big gap now between the top of the cornerback market and the top of the wide receiver market, which, okay, various data points, analytics would say wide receiver is the second most valuable position in the NFL, but top-tier pass rushes, for example, are getting paid way more than that. Like, corner is starting to look like a position where deliberate or whether it's due to the value of the position or simply the volatility or uncertainty or even lack of relative proven commodities at the top of the market, cornerback does look like a position that's going to be lagging behind some of these others in terms of the top value contracts. And therefore, maybe these deals are going to be kind of like bargains for teams. Like if Sauce signs his deal off the back of, a run of impeccable elite cornerback play and it doesn't get near $30 million a year, that's an absolute bargain.
Don't say it.
Haven't said a word.
Don't say it.
Haven't said a word.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. I think cornerback still undervalued in today's NFL. The other breaking news this morning, per Adam Schefter, Bill Belichick has yet another job in the media.
Oh, yeah?
Belichick is joining the 33rd Team, an emerging media and technology company, as a strategic advisor. Former NFL head coaches Matt Patricia and Adam Gase are also joining the 33rd Team. So I just want to personally welcome Bill Belichick and Matt Patricia and Adam Gase to the team.
Are you his onboarding coordinator? Do you?
Yeah, I'm gonna give him my Facebook number and
your
tell him
Facebook number.
That's what he would ask for, right?
Is that even okay?
He would ask for
that's your MyFace
a MyFace number
gotcha.
or something, right? That's because we're both old, you see.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call him today. Welcome him to the team. See if he needs anything.
Yeah.
See if he has any questions about the old football game. Football generally.
I always knew it was just a matter of time before you and I were working with Bill Belichick.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now I don't know if we can actually have him on the show because he's got 900 other media jobs that he's probably getting paid handsomely for. But just want to welcome Bill to the 33rd Team.
We can pay him in coffee.
33rd Team.
Maybe he's motivated by coffee the same way we are.
Might be. I mean, something's got to keep him going there.
He is also, I
What
think.
if he has any bets for the season he wants to drop in here?
Yeah. Maybe Patriots-related bets.
Yeah.
I think they're going to go winless.
Patriots they're going to pick first overall for Bill Belichick.
They're going to reverse what I did and have 0 wins in the season.
Oh, I like it. So, congrats to Bill on finding a job.
Colleague.
Another job. Colleague, Bill.
Congrats with colleague.
I mean, when we pass in the hallway, it's going to, it's a good.
In the office.
In the theoretical virtual office, when we pass Bill.
Think what he's going to be like in the Slack.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's going to
Did we get the Slack invite yet?
He's going to have that place bumping.
Can somebody get Bill added to Slack, please? There's nobody to yell to.
Blew out everybody's eardrums.
But I yelled outside, away from the mic.
No, I know, but you yelled loudly enough away from the mic that I think it probably still did it.
All right. Once he gets into the Slack, though, we'll officially onboard him and.
He's really going for the media. He's really going for those the whole space. We're not,
diversifying the portfolio.
Taking a step back and, working on the coaching resume for next year. We're going full into a new career at the
moment. Little ESPN, little Underdog. He's everywhere. Yeah. Inside the NFL. He's on every channel, every day. It's going to be great.
I like bringing Matt Patricia with him as well as a host for the Underdog thing,
Yeah.
I can't do this by myself. You're going to have to, pitch me questions.
Matt just jumping in as a host.
Right.
It's great. You think it's easy to host. Matt's just doing it. He's doing it. So welcome to the team, to everybody. All right, a couple topics we wanted to talk about before we bring Dean Blandino in too. I want to talk with Dean. You and I, I hate talking about rules and officials, but I hate that with you. I don't like talking about it with you. I don't want your opinion on it.
You hate my uninformed opining on whatever decision was made over the weekend that annoyed me.
So we're going to bring in an expert
who actually knows what he's talking about, and we're going to instead interrogate him about why terrible decisions were made.
That's correct. Yeah. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to complain to Dean about the intentional grounding that was thrown somewhat near a receiver. They're like, no, that's it, grounding, can't have it. I can't wait to complain. So I got someone else to complain to besides you.
I mean, I'm excited because we get to find out a little bit of sort of almost behind the scenes of the NFL's attitude towards some of these things. You know, like we've said repeatedly, the difference between the NFL and some other sports in terms of how much they want to make the officiating process transparent, I think is pretty stark. So I'm really interested to hear what Dean's takes on those things will be, like why they approach it the way they do.
We'll get that about 11 Eastern. We'll see if we can stay on schedule. We have a plan that we have to stick to.
Yeah.
Next on the plan is talking 49ers.
Okay.
Because Trent Williams is back playing football. Brandon Ayuk is back playing football.
He is.
After all of this offseason of hold-ins and holdouts, and Brandon Ayuk is supposedly admitting, I made that a little bit more difficult than I should have during the negotiation. They're all back. The Niners are back and reloaded, and they're ready to go. Other than the unfortunate incident with Ricky Pearsall this weekend.
Yeah, reloaded, perhaps an unfortunate metaphor to be using.
That's all right. We'll cut that in post.
Edit it right out.
Cut it in post.
Yeah. So, and interestingly, Trent Williams kind of referenced that as one of the reasons he felt like he needed to get back to the team was the Ricky Pearsall shooting. And reports now are that he seems to be on the mend. He's going to be fine. He'll be out for a few weeks, but it's not a long-term issue. I think his coach was saying he was in the weight room like the next day.
Yeah.
I don't like going to the weight room the next day after like a flight, let alone being shot in the chest. That feels,
I had a friend that was shot recently.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. It was in the leg.
Oh.
And that was, shattered his kneecap. I mean, it depends on where
Shattered his kneecap?
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
It was rough.
That's
it's
not
right
great.
down the street over here.
Okay.
Yeah. Similar type of situation. But it depends on where I'm just trying to relate.
Yeah.
It depends on where the bullet goes and everything. So, I mean,
right.
He's obviously very lucky. I don't think it hit.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming it didn't like rip
right.
organs out of him if he's in the weight room the next day. Anyway, for the 49ers perspective, like it was interesting. I think Tom Palazzolo had a tweet that was like, "Oh, you're wondering how the 49ers are going to pay for all these giant contracts? As of like right now, they are first in the NFL in terms of cap space available because of the rollover money and the fact that their quarterback is being paid about $17 a year. Obviously, that changes in the future. Like Brock Purdy's contract is coming up, and a big part of what San Francisco has been doing is projecting forward what they're going to have to pay Brock Purdy. It's like not how much space we have right now to sign people. It's next year and the year after that when we have all these contracts. And now there's a $60 million a year deal hanging off the books with Brock Purdy. Can we still afford everybody? And I think that's a big part of it. I can't remember who I saw this, who said this, but so I can't credit them. But somebody was saying that the reason the 49ers have sort of played hardball so much with these deals, because remember, the Brandon Ayuk thing is not a massive contract. They have had this space, even anticipating a Brock Purdy contract. They easily could get him under contract and just get it done. And yet they've dragged this all the way out, basically to the eve of the season. They were essentially saying that the 49ers front office feels like they got rolled by Nick Bosa in his contract, with the $30 million a year, one of the best paid non-quarterback players ever. So they were like, they wanted a win for whatever the next contract negotiation was. It's like, we took an L on this one. We can't have that precedent out there, that we're a soft organization, that we're going to get wrecked every time we go to the table with a player. We need a W from somewhere, right? I don't care if it's Brandon Ayuk or if it's Trent Williams. Whoever wants the smoke, we're willing to play hardball right now, draw a line in the sand and say, no more. And that's why these have been so awkward.
I didn't hear that. It's
a good theory. I like that.
It is a good theory. And so now the 49ers, just from, let's just use a simple AAV here.
Okay.
APY.
Yeah. People don't like that.
Which one?
Smarter people don't like that.
APY?
Yeah.
AAV?
Any of them.
Do we have to pivot?
Yeah. Well, just saying.
Nick Bosa's 34.
It's directionally sound, even if it's, in a given
it's
year.
For our listeners, average per year, average annual value. It all works. Nick Bosa's over 34. Javon Hargrave's over 21. Fred Warner's almost 20. He's at 19. Travarius Ward, we talked about corner bargains at 13.5.
Yeah.
Looks like a bargain. Debo's over 23. What did Ayuk's end up landing?
It was four for 120, right? So it's basically 30, bang on.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's going to have the biggest number right behind Bosa, right around 30. Kittle's at 15. Again, I think the elite tight end contracts are steals. The elite tight end, like the 4 or 5 of them, are steals. Trent's going to be up around 28, I believe, third highest paid offensive tackle behind the 2 youngsters of Tristan Wirfs and Penei Sewell. And Christian McCaffrey at 19, completely resetting, not even resetting the running back market.
Outlier.
Just being an outlier, yes, in the running back market. I mean, those are just, no other team has that. Like the Eagles might be a little close, but I don't think so. No other team has that. And as you said, it's because Brock Purdy's just eating ramen noodles every night, slumming it with 6 roommates. But he's going to have a contract that starts in the 6s next year. If he just has a similar year as last year, no matter what happens in the playoffs, his contract probably starts in the 6s. The thing about Ayuk, I don't know if Ayuk for the Steelers has the same impact. Maybe for Washington it does because Terry McLaurin's there, but the impact that I know it has for the 49ers. Ayuk, number 3 in PFF WAR last year, 3rd most valuable receiver per that metric, looked like a top 5 receiver in the NFL throughout much of the season, but you know what you're getting in that system with Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
You know what you're getting with Trent Williams, who is the anchor for an offensive line that does have some question marks at the other 4 starting spots relative to other teams. Having those guys intact so that you can now maximize the last year of Brock Purdy, who is actually almost $1 million per year is his actual salary. Maximize the last year of the rookie deal for Brock Purdy before he's got to get paid.
I actually think Trent Williams is the much bigger guy to get back in, literally and figuratively, to get back in the building and rolling for week 1. Brandon Ayuk, losing him, if they'd had to trade him away or if they couldn't get this done, it lingered into the regular season. It would be a blow. Obviously, not having him is worse than having him in the offense, particularly with Ricky Pearsall being down for a few weeks at least, and we're not going to know what he could bring to the table if he had to step into the Brandon Ayuk role until much later. But I think overall they'd have been fine, right? We've seen games before where they've gone into a regular season game without Debo or Kittle or whoever, and somebody else picked up the slack, right? Those guys are elite. They can just funnel the offense through somebody else, and they would be okay. If they didn't have Ayuk for a while, Debo would have bigger games, Kittle would have bigger games, McCaffrey maybe, whoever, and they'd have been absolutely fine. But Trent Williams, that offensive line isn't great already with the best left tackle and maybe the best offensive lineman in football anchoring the most important position on it. I would not have liked to have seen what would happen if they had to play games without Trent Williams at left tackle for any period of time. We've seen it before, and I think it does make a difference. That, I think, would have been a real concern. If they'd lost Trent Williams and now you've got 4 out of 5 positions that don't look great anyway, and the 5th looks weak as well, that could have been a real problem. And instead, they've staved that off. They've got Williams back in the building, and again, all should be good.
The without stats for Trent Williams aren't great, but they're also not great. There was confounding variables.
Right, they overlapped with Debo. So
they overlapped with the rain game. They overlapped with Debo. Like there was confounding variables. But if you're a 49ers fan, nobody wants to see it. Nobody wants to know what would happen without Trent Williams, without Brandon Ayuk. So they're all back and ready to go in San Francisco. Let's talk we're going to talk coaches right now.
Okay.
Coaches on the hot seat. I don't love talking about this because, based off the announcement today, these could be coworkers in a year. Right?
Well, just
saying. Like a year from now, we might be like, hey, welcome Brian Daboll to the 33rd team. Welcome to the show. But the hot seat we got to be careful here.
But we might, accelerate it along. We're just speeding up the process of becoming
Come
coworkers.
Join us. It's a better gig over here at the 33rd team rather than coaching, the New York Giants.
Right.
Or whatever it might be.
How much fun can that be?
So we just want, some of the coaches who are on the proverbial hot seat this year.
Yep.
Brian Daboll, I already mentioned.
Yeah.
With the Giants. It's an interesting one because they overachieved so much in 2022, and overachievement, I like to give credit to the coach. So now you have 1 year where they made the playoffs when I don't think they had any business making the playoffs, and then last year Daniel Jones gets injured, but even before that it just didn't look right. It wasn't the same. So they took a step back. Is this really a pivotal year for Daboll?
Yeah, I think so, and I think he knows it as well. He's going to be calling plays this year. And everything they've done this offseason has sort of intentionally or otherwise shifted the focus towards Daboll, right? It's like, we might go for another quarterback this offseason. Last season obviously was a disaster. We could get guy at the top. We could get Drake May, whatever it is. Instead, it's like, no, we're going to go wide receiver and give Daniel Jones some weapons. We'll help him out. And you're like, okay, but now if that doesn't work, who's getting blamed for it? Well, the coach. We gave him a weapon. We gave him, Malik Neighbors. We've improved everything. The offensive line is way better. How come Daniel Jones didn't play any better? That's got to be a coaching problem. So I sort of feel like again, I don't know if this is intentional or this is just the reality of what happens when you go in that kind of direction, but it's all on Brian Daboll now to show that he can get a better version of Daniel Jones, that he can get this offense looking like it did before last season, and that he can get this thing back on track because they've made some significant moves. Brian Burns on defense, Malik Neighbors on offense, and obviously everything else that they did this offseason as well. But now it is, okay, now coach this to something better than last year.
All right, I'm going to give you a couple other names that we talked about beforehand. Let me know who is really on the hot seat here. Matt Eberflus with the Bears.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Dennis Allen, Saints. Nick Sirianni with the Eagles. Mm-hmm. Robert Saleh with the Jets. And then Mike McCarthy is in the last year of his contract with the Cowboys and is probably worth mentioning. I don't know if the seat's hot so much as Jerry just lets contracts run out sometimes.
Yeah. So that's the thing with McCarthy. I mean, I don't really imagine any scenario where he gets fired during the season, but there's absolutely a solid chance that they simply don't bring it back after this year.
The Eberflus one's interesting because this happens a lot with quarterbacks, right? Where remember Jared Goff got drafted number 1 overall and he had Jeff Fisher for a year. I think Sam Darnold had like 1 year with the new colleague Adam Gase. Maybe it was 2. You sometimes you get that new quarterback and the crossover. If the Bears underachieve, what's underachieving for the Bears with the expectations now?
Yeah.
If they don't make the playoffs, is there going to be a change there? Because, expectations are higher now that you have Caleb Williams.
That's the only way I think that Eberflus could be on a hot seat is if the expectation is now so, I don't want to say unreasonable, but if the expectation has soared and now he has to actually meet. People are saying the Bears are definitely going to make the playoffs, right? That's pretty aggressive. I think it's entirely plausible, but it's like this world of hot take analysis now where every time you think you have a pretty strong out there take, you see that Sam Acho or whatever has already put it 7 teams, or Emmanuel Acho rather.
Oh, don't.
Apologies, Sam.
Apologies. Sam is.
I'm sorry. It's not you, Sam.
On point.
Emmanuel Acho.
Sam is measured.
Yeah.
The opposite of Emmanuel, who might be making some appearances on Check the Mic soon here.
Anytime you think you're about to go too strong, you find that Emmanuel Acho or Stephen A. Smith has already said it's 6 times stronger than you were willing to go, and it's already crazy. Like, I think it's pretty aggressive to say that Chicago will make the postseason this year. It's entirely plausible. I could get it. I think you can make an argument that it'll happen, but if that's now your expectation, that's harsh because it's entirely plausible they don't. I mean, that's a tough division. They might fall short of it. So, if that's what costs Eberflus a job, maybe. But if it's just, will they be better this year and significantly so, I think he's fairly safe.
All right, we'll talk a little bit more about these coaches. Dean Blandino coming up at 11-ish. Now, you and I, we have not had much experience bringing guests in mid-show.
We didn't do a walkthrough. The wedding had like walkthroughs. We had a rehearsal the day before. We had multiple walkthroughs. We didn't do any of this.
Your new brother-in-law is very well organized. I was getting updates from Ireland at the wedding. Yeah. Very well organized brother-in-law that you have there.
His love of spreadsheets and modeling appeared multiple times in the speeches.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Seems like a good guy.
Yeah.
I like it. Remember the early days of fantasy football, Sam? It was fun. It was simple. And unless you're like me, prep didn't feel like studying for a math test. Fast forward to today, and there are millions of experts out there, and it's tough to decipher what content will actually help you win your league. Until now, Fantasy Pros is the best site to do all of the work for you. They aggregate all of the experts and combine it into one set of rankings. So even better, their Draft Wizard has a tool called the Draft Assistant, which connects to your league no matter where you play. Drafts used to be fun, too. You'd have a few drinks, some food, enjoy the smack talk with your friends. Let's bring that back. The Draft Assistant tracks how your drafts go, who the best available player is, what trends are developing with your competitors, and a whole lot more. So this season, work less and win more with Fantasy Pros. Again, let Fantasy Pros do the work for you. Go to fantasypros.com/33team-assistant. That's fantasypros.com/33team-assistant. Sign up, crush your draft, win your league. You're running out of time here. The season starts tomorrow. Once again, fantasypros.com/33team-assistant.
Yeah, Fantasy Pros have got some very cool tools.
If you heard our AFC shows last week, different tool promoted on every single show. Nice. All extremely valuable and extremely useful.
There we go. I believe they've got some former colleagues there, haven't they, on Fantasy Pros?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
We've got we have a good coaching tree.
Yeah, we do.
We have a good coaching tree,
which we, of course, take full credit for.
Our friend Ben Stockwell sent me a note. I don't know if he sent it to you as well while you were on vacation.
Yeah.
His coaching tree, one of the PFF analysts, just got an assistant coaching job with the New Orleans Saints.
Yep.
So there are more former PFFers, infiltrating the league, just like we have Bobby Slowick and Zach Robinson. We always envisioned that day that we would start taking over the NFL.
Infiltrating is a little bit of a sinister term for that.
What do you mean?
It's just some sort of,
Is there a negative connotation attached to that?
I believe so. It's like espionage. It's not quite. I don't think I'm just not sure you want to infiltrate the league as much as participate in it.
The nerds are moving in. We mentioned Robert Saleh on the hot seat as well. I mean, that's just because expectations are high for the Jets.
Saleh and Nick Sirianni are the two where I think part of me when I'm thinking, all right, coach in a hot seat, you're like, how bad could things go this year? Well, we already saw last season how bad it could go in Philadelphia. It ended that way. And Sirianni was genuinely, I think, on the hot seat last offseason. He had to basically talk his way back into the job and convince the Eagles that he was the guy to right the ship and to put it back together again. If it doesn't start that way, like if it starts basically the way it was ending last season, I think Sirianni, not only is he on the hot seat, but will probably be the first coach fired in that situation. And then, Saleh, because the Rodgers thing, if Rodgers stays healthy, all the pressure's on Saleh to now realize the potential of this team, right? We are, the Jets will be looking at this saying, we are a contender. Well, that's now on Saleh to show that they are. And if the defense regresses or if something doesn't go as well as we're expecting it to, he's the fall guy for that, right?
All right. So I've been told in my ear, that's how that works.
Yeah.
We have Dean Blandino.
Huh.
We have Dean.
Let's go.
Let's bring in Dean. Look at this.
Boom.
Wow, Dean. It worked. Welcome, man. How's it going?
Oh, he's muted.
Dean's muted. It didn't work perfectly yet. You just got to press the button.
They told me, make sure you're on mute when you come in, and then I forgot to unmute.
Gets us all
Welcome, Dean. How's it going, man?
It's going good. Going really good. Getting ready, right? We kick off tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're gonna be our guy this year that we can complain to. Can we send all complaints to you?
Yes. I want to make sure you guys have my number so you can join the long list of people that text and call during games.
Yes.
Please.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I definitely want a running.
An endless stream of what the hell
we'll
happened
start a
here.
group. We'll start a group chat, and
Perfect.
Yeah.
I have a soft spot for bad intentional grounding calls. I think the intentional grounding calls have just gone too far. So I'll give you those complaints throughout the.
I agree.
I agree. You agree? All right. See, now we're off to a good start.
You're bonding with your dislike of the intentional grounding calls.
Can we start with every year there's the points of emphasis for the 2024 season. What should we be looking for? Are there going to be like 17 new false starts coming out tomorrow night? What are we looking for this season?
Yeah, no, I think, look, certainly the line play, pre-snap movement. Remember last year, we kicked off. Do you remember this time last year after that game, and all we were talking about was illegal formations, right? And the tackles being up on the line. So I don't anticipate something like that. I know they do want to just make sure in terms of alignment and the linemen being on the line of scrimmage, the pre-snap movement, a lot of it with the defensive movement. Sometimes you'll see with the defense, if it's third and short or fourth and short, or they've got they've got a first and goal at the one, the defense will stem and some quick movement to get the offense to jump. So I think those are things that I think the league wants to make sure they clean up. But I think the big one, obviously, the rule changes this year, the kickoff being the significant one. I don't anticipate something just coming out of the blue where, oh my gosh, we've got 100% more of this foul or that foul.
Well, hold on, real quick. We're not going to see Jawan Taylor with 7 illegal formations tomorrow night because he's lining up.
The line of scrimmage official should talk to Jawan the first time and say, "Hey, you got to get up on the line. Talk to Coach Reed. and then we won't have that craziness that we had last year.
So when they try and kind of re-emphasize something like that, or this year the talk has been the cheat motion stuff, right? Trying to kind of crack down on, okay, this is fine, just don't go towards the line of scrimmage, which they were doing a lot last year, uncalled. When they're trying to kind of re-emphasize something like that, how do they do it? Is it an instruction to sort of, okay, let's really crack down on this for a week or two, we're going to get a million penalties about that, and then we back off because that's made the point? Or do they try and actually get it across to teams beforehand and say, we're going to be really strong on this, so police yourself so we don't have to?
Yeah, more of the latter. I think preseason has been so important as that. You always see the preseason foul numbers up because that's when you're trying to set the bar and make sure. The problem with preseason today is none of the ones play anymore.
Right.
So you're coaching up the twos and sometimes the threes and the guys that aren't going to be on the roster. And then we get to the regular season and these guys haven't played. So what you don't want, right? You don't want a crazy amount of fouls, week 1, week 2. You want to try to keep it consistent, and you try to use the preseason. But the reality is, anytime there's, look, you don't want to overemphasize something, but you do have to clean up. What you don't want is the tackles taking advantage. You don't want that pre-snap movement where the offense is gaining an advantage, those types of things. So the officials are going to have to, call the fouls that are there, and that, and then once the flag is down, that incentivizes the coach to correct it. If there's no flag, there's no reason to do anything different.
You mentioned the new dynamic kickoff rule.
Yes, we have to. They've branded it. This is the first time they're calling. It's a rule change. It's the new kickoff. It's the dynamic kickoff. And we're supposed to use that.
Well, this is just like in college. We cannot call it the 2-minute warning. It is the 2-minute timeout.
Right? We're like in junior high school. Like, it's just.
So I don't want to get sued here, Dean. I'm going to call it the dynamic kickoff rule because that's what it's called. Do you think we've seen anything in the preseason that will resemble the regular season? Have you been to camps seeing this? Does it look different in camp than it has in preseason games?
I think to some extent, yes. I think you look at the preseason, and the return numbers are always up in the preseason, right? Because you're trying to evaluate players, guys going to make the squad. A lot of those fringe players are going to make the team on special teams. So the numbers are always up. You even look at last year. I mean, in the preseason, we were above 60% in terms of returns. And then the regular season, we dropped to 22. So the returns are going to be up. I don't think teams have showed their hand. Look, we're going to be above 22% in terms of returns. But when you look at just some of the numbers, if we're getting drive starts at the 30, the 31, the 32, then you're going to see teams that say, why are we even going to coach this play, cover this play? Let's just kick it through the end zone if we're giving our opponent the ball on the 30 and just play defense. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I think you're going to see stuff during the regular season you just didn't see in the preseason. So that's why the preseason, it's so hard to gauge where we're going to be after even week 1 with this new rule.
Are the officials ready? Because you guys do so much preparation. I don't think people realize how much officials actually prepare, study the teams that they're playing, and try to anticipate play calling and where they're going to target the ball, whatever it might be, right? You guys put a lot of work into that. Are they prepared, right? Have they seen enough? Because we're hearing about run concepts on kickoffs, right? They're going to run power and counter and outside zone on kickoffs. We didn't see any of that in the preseason. Do they know what they're looking for here through training camp?
Well, it's hard because you just, like you say, it's not on film yet, right? It's not all of these concepts that they're talking about. I think what the officials have really focused on is the coverage, because this is so different than a traditional kickoff. And just think about how the officials have covered kickoffs previously, right? You have 2 officials, 1 on each sideline covering the kicker's restraining line, 2 on the receiving team's restraining line, then officials downfield. This is completely different. Now you have you have 6 of the 7 officials are really downfield and officiating that action from the 40-yard line in. So they've really been focusing on coverage. And then it's just, this week we'll see those things on film and we'll have a better opportunity. But you're right. They do study, they do scout the teams they're going to work, and they're looking at preseason film, but like we've talked about, preseason isn't going to give us the whole story. So I think it's going to be, week 1 and beyond where they really start to dive in and say, okay, here's what these teams are trying to do on kickoff.
How big a deal do we think that this hip drop tackle change is going to be? Because a few months ago when this was announced, there was hysteria everywhere. Defense is now illegal. We can't even play the game anymore. And in preseason, basically nothing, right? We've heard it's gone radio silent on this. So how big of a deal do we think this is actually going to be?
I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. Yeah, it's a major change. I know that my experience has always been like that. I remember back in 2009, 2010, when we expanded the defenseless player rules and DBs and safeties. Like, how do I make that play, right? They adjust, right? You see the game evolve, and it's changed. The hits that we saw 15, 20 years ago over the middle, we don't see those types of hits. And that's good, right? That's a good thing for the game. It's a good thing for the health and safety of the players. I think players will adjust. I don't think we're going to see a ton of flags, and that's by design. They want it to be absolutely 100% clear and obvious for them to call it. I think they're going to look at tape during the week, and if they see a violation, there'll be fines and those types of things, and send the message that way. I don't think that this will be a major issue. Look, there's going to be a play where it looks like a hip drop, and there's going to be no flag, and we're going to be talking about it on the broadcast. But I don't think this is going to be something that comes up every game.
The actual description of when they sort of sent out the video and they're like, okay, here's what we've changed, here's what we've banned. The concept seems fine. The actual description and the explanation of it seemed more confusing than what the concept of the thing that they've banned is. I'm still not 100% sure what actually necessitates meeting the requirements of a hip drop tackle. That feels like a little bit of a worrying aspect that I don't know how many people are actually even sure what it is that's illegal anymore.
I know, and that's part of, even when I read the rule, and I've been a part of that process, writing rules, and you do have to take things into consideration, and when you're using certain language, but it just felt like it was overcomplicated. We're talking about, the swivel and the unweight, and I was like, is that a fancy way of saying that you drop to the ground? I just think the bottom line is, if you wrap the runner up, you leave your feet, basically swing your body around and drop to the ground and land on the back of the legs of the runner. That's what they're trying to get out of the game, right? The one example, there were a couple last year. I think the one with Isaiah Simmons on Geno Smith, in that game earlier in the year was probably a pretty good example of what they're trying to get out of the game. And I think that's kind of, sometimes you write rules language and it seems more complicated than it has to be.
I'm just wondering if you're going to see some of those plays where a player's trying to make a tackle from behind and doesn't know how to adjust, and you're almost like, let's go. Because we've seen like that play last year where Mahomes looked like he could have gotten crushed by the corner and he just kind of didn't get hit. Like, are players going to be a little bit more tentative trying to make tackles?
Yeah, does that create that uncertainty? And now, that puts the player at risk, right? If you're playing tentative. I do look, you've got, imagine trying to tackle Derrick Henry in the open field, and you've got him wrapped up, and now you're saying, well, how am I going to get this guy down? If I don't drop, he's going to carry me into the end zone. So yeah, that's always a possibility, but I do think that, look, when you talk about health and safety, that's always the driver, and I think players adjust, coaches adjust, and I don't think this is going to be a major deal.
All right, so one other thing that happened this preseason, there was a potential automation of first downs, right? And as a former Division II All-American chain gang member, that's where I was on the chain gang.
All-American,
yeah, I was an All-American. I was the clip guy, and kept track of all the penalties and everything. I was a chain gang guy.
You're the key to the whole operation.
That's right.
I think people understand that.
They gave me that job,
and I think that's the problem, right? If he is the key to everything working fine, this is why we need to automate it.
Hard copy guy. I was writing down all the penalties. I was the clip, the whole thing. So I appreciate the chain gang. I appreciate having them out there. What went wrong that my chain gang brethren are back?
Look, I'll preface this by saying I love the chain gang. I think that's part of the history and tradition and lore of the NFL. Who doesn't love when they run out and you're all right, whatever side you're on, right, offense or defense, and they stretch that chain and it's a first down or not, and everybody goes crazy or everybody gets upset. I love that. And I think that's part of the human element of the game. And look, yes, we want to integrate new technology. And this is really, it's very interesting technology where you have these cameras that are located throughout the field, and they're not spotting the ball. The officials are still spotting the ball, but these cameras are locating it and determining where it is, the nose of the ball in relation to the line of game. But it just took too long. I mean, the couple of plays that I saw, they could have ran the chain crew out 4 or 5 times. And you were an all-pro. You're like the top of the heap in terms of athletic ability for chain crews. These guys are not, some of them are not that nimble, and it just didn't save any time. So I think the league is going to, continue to look at it, and we're back with the chain crews for another year.
We're going to hear about the technology that we have, and we can't even figure out, we're going to have index cards and the whole thing.
Spotting the ball has never been an exact science. Even measuring has never been an exact science. Why we need to get, I always go back to like soccer and how they're just, hey, we think there's 6 minutes left in the game, and we're just going to, and I'll decide. The referee, could you imagine in the NFL, a referee saying, Chiefs and Bills are down to the wire? I'll let you know when the game is over. Don't worry. I'll tell you when. I don't know.
I kind of like that.
There's more or less 13 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah. You got 3 plays. Maybe I'll give you 4.
I started at the top kind of complaining about intentional grounding. I just wanted to circle back to that quickly. It felt like last year it went from just get rid of the ball, and there needs to be a receiver in the area, to like, man, that's an inaccurate pass, Josh Allen. That's grounding. Like, when did that emphasis change?
Quite frank, they screwed it up last year. They did, and they got overly technical. And where, like you said, grounding is, look, you're under pressure, you throw the ball. If there's a receiver in the general vicinity, you give the quarterback the benefit of the doubt, right? And that's how it's worked forever. And for some reason, we try to define what in the vicinity was, and and it got all in the official's head, and we just messed it up. I mean, there's a play in the Super Bowl that is clearly not grounding, and we call grounding in the Super Bowl. So I think, what they've said now is that replay can help out with under pressure, and replay can help out with the quarterback being out of the pocket. I do think you're going to see, I think there's a world where we just say, hey, get it back to the line of scrimmage. The defense won the down, and we move on. I mean, I think that could be a potential rules change at some point.
If the goal is, it's just funny because if the goal is player safety, the whole point of allowing the quarterback to throw the ball away is player safety. And honestly, you don't want him trying to muscle up and get the ball to a certain spot, because then he's going to land on his shoulder. Like, just let them almost get away with anything if. It's, besides spiking it, if it's the name of player safety,
exactly right.
Just let them throw the ball away. So I agree. I'm glad you agreed that last year it went too far.
It did, absolutely.
The last thing I want to talk to you about before we let you get out of here, the NFL has always seemed like it has a very sort of opaque attitude towards officiating and transparency when it comes to rules, particularly when you contrast it with other sports or even other leagues. We've seen in the spring leagues with the XFL or whatever, how much they broadcast to the public. Is that conscious and by design? And if so, what's the thinking behind how much they try and keep it under wraps and hidden away and in a back room somewhere?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is still, it's old school thinking. When I started in the NFL in the mid 90s, there wasn't social media, there wasn't the internet. The internet wasn't what it is today. And, things just died, right? You maybe there was a newspaper article or something, or a back page headline, and then that was it, right? And that's not the world we live in today. And I think that transparency, and I think the NFL just needs to continue to work at that, because our experience in the spring football leagues has been positive. Look, you might not always agree with the call, but if you can see and hear the why, I think that eliminates a lot of the consternation that fans have today. There's the conspiracy theories. They're out to get my team. They're out. No, these are just people trying to do a job, do it to the best of their ability. And some of these things are complicated. So if you can hear and listen to what's happening, I think people walk away with a better understanding and less angst about the whole process. So I do think the NFL, and look, they've made strides. I do think there's more to be done in that area, to be able to communicate, to do things on social media, to be able to share And not just the good, or not just where everybody agrees. It's when there is something controversial or we do make a mistake, we got every once in a while come out and say, hey, we made a mistake, because that lends itself to the credibility of the whole program. And I think the NFL could use more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think you're right. It's definitely part of this is the acceleration of social media and all that kind of stuff. But the other element is, now that the league is firmly on the side of gambling, you have to be more transparent. Like, you can't, because the alternative is, you when a bad call is made, you have two options. You either say, okay, we screwed that up, that's a mistake, here's how, like, here's where the process went wrong, and how do we stop that happening again? Or you bury your head in the sand, try and make it go away, and that leads people to assume corruption or conspiracy theories. So you have to be more transparent now.
Yeah, and there has to be a balance. I don't think, I get the concept behind, like, the NBA, the 2-minute report. I get that concept. I think that's too far. You don't want to be putting that out and say, oh my gosh, I'm a Jets fan. The Jets lost and the officials missed 7 calls in the last 2 minutes of that game. That hurts the credibility of the league and the officiating, group. But I do think there's a balance where, when it warrants, you have to come out, because, like you said, now the sports betting, everything else is connected. And so we have to come out and say, hey, yep, we blew it. Here's what happened. Here's what we're doing to correct it. And I think people, they might not be overjoyed, but I think they'll feel at least a little bit better that, hey, okay, they admitted it. When you don't say anything, or sometimes you double down.
Yeah.
You say, no, it wasn't a mistake. And now people just, they tune you out, and that's not good.
I think a huge win is, like, if they simply made those the conversations, whether it's the booth, whether it's New York, if they made those conversations broadcast or public, even if it was after the fact, like soccer, the Premier League has had to do this, right? They, I think, have always skewed on the NFL side of things in terms of, let's keep it closed, behind closed doors. And then there was a decision or a screw up with VAR last year that was so bad, even the Premier League decided explaining how we screwed this up is better than pretending we didn't and everybody concluding it was corrupt.
Exactly right. And sometimes, and I think, look, you wouldn't want, there's always the fear of live in game, and because people, what you don't want is people to feel guarded in how they're communicating.
Right.
But I do think there's a world where you can take that and maybe after the fact, even in game, and say, hey, here was the conversation between the referee and the command center, during the call in the second quarter. And I think that there's something about that I think fans would really, we've had such positive feedback during our, UFL, XFL, USFL, the transparency. Fans really, really love it, and it just eliminates now. There's a fine line between incompetence and something nefarious. Like, you don't want to highlight a mistake where, hey, we really messed this thing up, but it happens. Everybody's human, and nobody's perfect.
Because the other element is, it's the gambling, it's social media, but now you have the instant replay showing you these things basically in black and white, and then all you hear is the announcement comes back and it's the exact opposite to what everybody just saw on the screen. Like that's a problem. Either you tell people why you're calling it the exact opposite of what we all think we see, or people are going to question the process.
No doubt. And I'm a rules analyst. I've spent 20-something years at the NFL making decisions. And that happens to me on the broadcast, where I'll think it's going to go one way and it goes the other way. And I'm sitting there scratching my head going, what? And if you could just explain that, and then I can explain it. And I'll say, okay, I didn't consider that part of it. Or okay, I can see why, that led you to that decision. I think it helps more than it hurts.
I want John Berger mic'd up from New York. Right from the...
Oh, I love John. Yeah. John, John's one of the smartest guys I've ever known. I don't know if he's quite TV ready, but he's definitely one of the smartest guys.
John was one of our first real friendlies at PFF when we were just trying to put ourselves on the map with the Giants. So had to give John a shout out. So.
He's great.
Dean, we appreciate it, man. This will be fun, doing this throughout the year. Hopefully there's not too much controversy, and you're doing a good job just helping us unpack what we're seeing every Sunday. So we appreciate it.
All right, sounds good, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Dean.
you, sir.
That was good. Yeah, I told you. I think we'll have good conversations.
Yeah, we're already on the same page in a bunch of areas. This is perfect.
I'm over here wasting 20 minutes of time ranting about an intentional grounding, and he could have just said, "Yeah, I agree."
And he's like, "Yeah, I'm with you.
You're right.
It's a bad call."
I stand with Steve.
I mean, I'm encouraged as well that he agrees with the transparency thing. Like that's somewhere that the NFL needs to go. Like he's not out there saying, "Yeah, look, the right call is to hide it away, bury your head in the sand, and pretend it didn't happen." The Lions didn't, in fact, report as eligible on that play. No, they screwed up, not us.
All right, you and I are going to go through our biggest storylines to watch in just a minute. But first, going to tell you about our friends over at Gametime. Gametime, the Gametime picks, they filter out the fluff to show you incredible deals on great seats. We all love to watch games live. I like to go watch UC football. I like to sneak into a Bengals game every now and then like through tickets. When I have time. So Gametime is the place to get those. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets using Gametime. Plus, I go to a bunch of Reds games, so it's pretty easy. It just customizes everything, curates everything, makes it easy to save on sports, concerts, comedy, theater. You just went to a little comedy show recently too, right? You get to go see Bergazzi. Is that his name? Nate.
Yeah.
That guy's great. It's all over my feed. You can go get to him quickly through Gametime, especially through the curation process. They have all-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. You get a panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy, so you get to see exactly what you're buying. You get the lowest price guarantee, or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. That's an unbelievable deal. And then Gametime ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets, game tickets, whatever it might be with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code CHECKTHEMIC, that's M-I-C, check the mic, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code, Check the Mic, CHECKTHEMIC, for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime.
Nice. Very slick process. I love the all-in pricing thing. I had to check. They do, in fact, have the Oasis tickets because that was the big bit of news while I was away at home. Oasis are reforming, and for everybody our age, that could not be a more seismic event that's happening.
They making their way to the Cincinnati area?
No, God, no. But they have the Manchester tickets available on Gametime.
All right, go check it out right now.
Were you a big Oasis fan back in the day? Because they never cracked the States, really.
Yeah, like, you get Wonderwall and that other song. And
Wonderwall and that other song, yeah. That's exactly it.
Yeah, that's right. They made it onto my mix CDs.
They did.
Quite often.
That's cracking America.
Yeah.
That's making it over here.
How's that?
Yeah.
And then downloaded them on Napster and LimeWire and whatever else. The worst part, all right, I'm done. The worst part about Napster and LimeWire is when they would say a song was by someone else. It'd be like, oh, Third Eye Blind sang Story of a Girl. It's like, no, they didn't.
That was annoying.
But there's a whole generation of people that think that they did.
Right. That was annoying.
And I'm relating to at least 4 people right now.
Correct. That was annoying. And then the other thing, if you're even older, when you set a song to download and then somebody used the phone and your internet connection died, and you can start all over again.
The whole internet just dead.
I'm busy, so my child...
And you get to college and you open up to all sorts of spam when you're downloading Napster stuff.
My daughter is 11 now. We finally caved and brought her own phone, and I'm like trying to teach her how the internet works, because she's just existed on Wi-Fi for the last X number of years. I'm like, now you have data, somebody's paying for that, and if it's not unlimited, you run out of data at a certain point, and the whole concept is like breaking her brain. It's insane. Whereas back in the day, it was like, and by the way, if somebody picks up the phone, whatever you're doing in the internet's dead. Forget it. You can only have one line. It's either operating the phone or the internet. It can't do both at the same time.
Yeah. You got to start by explaining dial-up.
Yeah.
Jake in the chat, Third Eye Blind was awesome. Yeah, they were one of my favorites.
There you go.
I celebrated their entire catalog. All right, Sam and Steve's biggest storylines for this season. We've talked a lot. It's been a long off season. By the way, programming note for tomorrow. Like officially back tomorrow. Long form, season preview, game by game, 16 games to preview. We're not doing the Thursday night game today. It'll all be tomorrow's show, 10:30 Eastern time, right here from the studio. We are there. We've spent a lot of off season talking about stories and off season moves and draft and free agency and the whole thing. What are the biggest for you going into the season that you're keeping an eye on?
Yeah, so, it's not going to be surprising because ultimately the biggest storyline should be pretty obvious. I think Rodgers and his health, Aaron Rodgers and the Jets coming in as legitimate contenders, legitimate favorite type team, a legitimate sort of favorite tag, is a huge storyline. I mean, we thought we were getting this last year. Remember Rodgers coming out in prime time under the lights, waving the American flag. It's like, this is insane. 4 snaps later, his Achilles is done. It's like, well, that was that. No more. But it's,
I don't
it's
mean
back.
to laugh, but it just kind of sad.
It was pretty anticlimactic.
It was.
It's like this amazing Jets primetime Rodgers American flag thing. This is incredible. This could not be more America. And then boom, 4 snaps. Now the Jets are still done. That's it. No more. And even that rest of that game, everybody, the game was played like that happened.
And then the new AI schedule creator was like, I have an idea. Let's put the Jets on Monday Night Football to kick off the season.
But in theory, we're getting that again for real this time, right? You have to assume that his Achilles is not going to go again after 4 snaps. The big thing to watch, obviously, will be, does that affect him coming back? Like, are there lingering physical effects from that Achilles injury? Is age going to catch up with him now? Or simply, is he going to get more injuries because he's now of a certain age? But independent of that, if he does stay completely healthy, how good is this Jets team going to be? I mean, this is almost like we have to wait for Christmas Day to open the presents. Well, everyone had to wait like a whole year to see this Aaron Rodgers and the Jets thing happen, right? Now we're finally going to get to theoretically open that present and see how good they can be.
That's what I wrote down as one of my big stories as well, just because, are they the favorites in the AFC East? By a lot of people, they are. I still don't want to doubt the Bills, but I think that entire AFC East race, the Dolphins are very much in there. The Patriots probably won't be good, but that entire AFC East race, the Jets with expectations through the roof now, the training camp reports where they ran the Giants off the field for whatever that's worth. The only time that we really got to hear anything about the ones for the Jets. So they should be good. And we've also seen the Jets with one of the best defenses in the league over the last couple of years, but quarterback play bottom 5 in the NFL. This revolving door of Zach Wilson and other people that just, Tim Boyle and whoever else just couldn't get the job done. Aaron Rodgers doesn't even have to be great.
Chris Streveler?
The Streveler experience. Streveler underthrew one wide open 20-yard pass and the Meadowlands goes nuts. They go crazy. That's how bad it was. Now they have Aaron Rodgers to get in there.
Yep.
And maybe make a run in the AFC. The other story for me, it's tough for me to pare it down, but so I said like the entire NFC North, I think that division as a whole is going to be unbelievable to watch, but the Lions in particular, this Lions ascent, and we've said so many times, brick by brick, right? Picking number 2 overall, barely missing the playoffs in 2022, winning the division, making the playoffs, winning their first playoff game, winning a second playoff game, being plays away from winning the Super Bowl. Do they keep going? One of the negatives, we're no longer in the PFF Slack channel. When it sounds like they're running Oklahoma drills upstairs, we can't find out what's happening.
It's true.
When it's loud.
Yeah.
So it sounds like people are.
You just have to assume it's not a crisis of some kind.
You have to assume it's not, but we don't get the alert.
Correct.
Right? It used to be like Austin Gale's running around up there. Yeah. So anyway, it's the Lions. I screw up all the. I was on the middle of a great take.
Yeah, that's a social clip that can't be used
Social
anymore.
clips.
Right.
Sorry, team.
No,
but
it's
the
interesting.
Lions. Will the Lions be good?
The Lions have taken this amazing sort of journey from bottom-dwelling team to now legitimate contenders, and there's only really 1 or 2 steps left, to go. The last 2 steps to get a Super Bowl, but obviously they're the hardest 2 steps to take. Right? It's relatively easy to go from a terrible team to somewhere in the middle. It's a little bit more difficult to go from somewhere in the middle to pretty good to very good. But the last 2, the hardest 2 steps to take are the ones from, legitimate contender to getting over the line and winning a championship. And we've seen that several teams that are fantastic right now have not been able to make it happen. The 49ers, Kyle Shanahan hasn't done it. The Bills with Josh Allen haven't done it. The Bengals with Joe Burrow, they haven't been able to get over that line. It's the last 2 steps for the Detroit Lions. Can they actually take those final steps and make it happen? And the thing standing in their way, I think, is my second biggest storyline. It's Kansas City's quest for that 3-peat championship, that unprecedented, never achieved 3-peat championship. Can they actually get that done? And sort of along with that, Imagine if they've actually fixed the offense by just adding a bunch of speedy wide receivers, right? Actually trading away Tyreek Hill. I don't want to call it a mistake because, they used those draft picks. They decided to pivot in a different direction.
They're 2 for 2 and winning Super Bowls.
And they've won Super Bowls. But it obviously, last year's offense looked like it was crying out for Tyreek Hill, right? It didn't have that threat, and it sputtered. And they were able to pull it together late in the year and ultimately win the Super Bowl anyway. But a large part of that success last season was the defense was the best defense Mahomes has ever been paired with by a fair distance. Imagine a world where that team a year ago has the threat of a Tyreek Hill, that speed on the outside with Hollywood Brown, with Xavier Worthy now, like just those upgrades at wide receiver. Imagine if the offense is back to its best and the defense remains amazing. I mean, doing a three-peat has never been done before. It's very hard, but the Chiefs may be better than they were a year ago and really targeting that.
Yeah, and we might not even, like last year, it was so uncomfortable watching the Chiefs offensively at times.
Yeah.
Because they were so bad and people thought, okay, this just isn't their year. And then they went in the playoffs and completely changed the way they played and played clean football other than one bad play here and there. And so we won't know until the playoffs. But if they start dominating again or, start dropping 30 a game, because that offense was like 10th in scoring last year with Mahomes at the helm, right? If they get back to a top 3 scoring offense and still have Spags and a good defense, even with all the challenges in the AFC, we might be looking at a three-peat here for the Chiefs.
And I think sometimes it's easy for very successful teams or teams that have won it all to sort of, how do you stay motivated? How do you come back and do it all over again? I think one way you can do that is when you're targeting something historic, like when you're chasing something that's never been done before. Kansas City is coming off back-to-back Super Bowls. You're like, what's left to play for? Particularly for people like Travis Kelce. Well, a three-peat is something to play for. Nobody's ever done that before. You don't think that Mahomes, Kelce, Andy Reid, all these people want to have their name attached to an NFL first, a three-peat championship, back-to-back-to-back. The Patriots dynasty, Belichick, Brady, they never did that. So I think that's enough to keep this team 100% focused, fully motivated, and as good as invested in it as they have ever been, which makes the Chiefs the scariest team in the NFL.
All right, man, we're going to get into our listener bets in a minute here. But first, got to tell you about our friends over at Locker. If you love showcasing your NFL knowledge with some skin in the game, Locker is a must-have in your gaming arsenal. Locker contests combine the strategic elements of DFS with the thrill of sports betting into an exciting new game format. Simple to enter and easy to learn, Locker contests allow users to test their wits by answering questions in real time during live NFL games, with the goal being to accurately predict the upcoming action on the field. By correctly answering straightforward, game-based, multiple-choice questions such as which 49ers player will have the most receiving yards on the next drive, or what will be the result of the Chiefs' next drive, users can earn points and move up the leaderboard in pursuit of cash prizes. Thought about this through the years. This would be amazing to play, and Locker offers that. They offer both free-to-play games with cash jackpots as well as a variety of real money contests featuring different types of payout structures, including top-heavy contests and 50-50 contests. There are contests for every NFL game on the 2024 schedule, so users can pick and choose when to play, whether it's all the primetime games, strictly the games of your favorite team, or any other combination of your choice. So many contests are hosted by Locker's expansive partner network of athletes, celebrities, influencers, and there's chat functionality embedded at the top of the app so users can directly engage with the contest host as well as other participants. This dynamic and integrated social experience allows users to celebrate wins, lament bad beats, and talk smack as the action heats up and the game plays out. If you sign up for Locker through the 33rd team, use the code 33rd, that's 33RD, you'll get a $50 deposit match. So join today and discover an entirely new and unique way to cash in on your NFL viewing experience. Come and join Sam and I as we play along with the experts at the 33rd team. Again, use the code 33rd, 33RD. Get that $50 match right now at Locker.
Yeah, that sounds very fun. I hadn't actually heard about that whilst I was away at the wedding, but I'm gonna jump on that.
News.
Yeah.
News for you. You're in, and you're going to be competing.
I'm gonna jump on that later.
All right, so one of our favorite things to do here, our listener bets. We were a little late in pushing this and encouraging people to get them in, but we have a few between Twitter, the Discord channel. You want to tell everybody about the Discord where they can sign up?
Yeah, as soon as I figure out where they can sign up. Is that in my profile? Have I put that in there, or am I that disorganized? We do have a Discord, the link to which will be somewhere. I will tweet it out at some point today if it isn't in my profile at the moment. But yeah, come hang out at the Check the Mic Discord, and we will be there. We will be much more interactive, much more present in the Discord than we have previously been, because it's where we want to have a little community there.
All right, so we've got, let's see what we have here for the first couple. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Where did this all started from a couple years ago. It was a Raiders fan. I forget who it was. He always reminds us that he started it, and I apologize. Identify yourself again if you encourage this. But a couple years ago, we picked the Raiders, to win 7 games or whatever, and I think he was mad. He was like, "No, they're going to win 10, and we're going to make the playoffs." It's like, all right, put something on the line, and you can make your bet or your prediction. And at the time, as we said, we offered a PFF subscription. We're going to offer up future Check the Mic swag, so some sort of T-shirt, hat, maybe both, whatever it might be, whatever we have. And if we get somebody creating the swag, please, as I said, right, we got to get people creating that, right? We need T-shirts, we need hats, we need stuff. I need stuff to wear. All right.
You need stuff to wear.
I need a little wardrobe change.
Right.
Okay. I need some stuff to wear. I need stuff with my face on it, whatever. So that's what you'll get. And then if you did not offer something up in exchange, I would encourage you to offer something up in exchange. We like coffee. Someone offered up coffee that we'll explain later. You had a couple different options for us. But we appreciate, some sort of, coffee beans or whatever it is. Okay?
Okay, let's go.
All right. This is from Matt Brogans. Patriots set the record for most sacks allowed, which I believe off the top of my head is 76.
Is that still...
I don't think it's been broken.
But it's the David Carr.
David Carr,
year.
2002 Houston Texans. I believe it is 76.
Okay.
And I don't know. Somebody's typing at me, and I get distracted.
Stop being distracted. We gotta be focused. Come on.
Do you want to accept this bet? That's pretty bold.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh, the Giants had 85 last season. They did break it.
The Giants broke it last year.
Yeah.
Cutlets.
Thank you, Ben.
Cutlets contributed to breaking it.
Producer Ben informs us.
Okay, well, I was going to say
Giants broke it.
I was going to say, of course, you accept a bet for a record that has stood since 2002. But if it's only stood since last year, apparently that is quite breakable.
But 17 game schedule. There's an asterisk here.
That's true.
17 game schedule.
But still, I mean, I would say the 2 times it's happened were last year with a historically terrible offensive line and quarterback combination, and 2002. That feels fairly safe.
You have 2 quarterbacks, Jacoby Brissett and Drake May, who tend to hold the ball probably a tick longer than they should.
Yeah.
Brissett does not have a great sack rate throughout his career. It got a little bit better last time we saw him as a starter.
As in tends to take
take more sacks than most. You also have, I cannot get this etched out of my brain here, Sam, the training camp practice report.
Yes.
Against the Eagles, where they got sacked 14 times on 42 dropbacks across Drake May and Jacoby. 14 times on 42 dropbacks. They would break this record in like 8 weeks if they kept up that pace, just as an example.
Where they were sacked a historic level.
Yeah. So this is possible, but I accept it. It's a bold prediction that I would accept here.
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely plausible. I mean, you look at it and you say it's a terrible offensive line on paper, and the quarterback situation on paper it's got the recipe to repeat the Giants' trick from a year ago.
All right, let's go. We have a Seahawks prediction here. Seahawks win the NFC West, and Geno Smith has 30 passing touchdowns. That's an and, not an or. So both things need to happen.
Okay.
By the way, nice reminder on the screen there. We can accept more bets before tomorrow.
We have an email. Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
We have a new email. Check the mic at the33rd team.com.
Okay.
Check the mic at the33rd team.com.
And I've just checked the link to the Discord. On my Twitter profile, which is at Sam Monson NFL. Is that what my name is now? I have to remember what I am in a post-PFF world. Yes, at Sam Monson NFL.
Yes, that's your name.
You go there.
No underscore. Huh?
There's a link tree, which has all the links to the podcast in it, including the Check the Mic Discord. So at Sam Monson NFL, click on the link tree, click on the Discord, boom, you're there. That's how you get to our Discord.
All right, the Seahawks prediction from Ronald Birkin. Seahawks win the NFC West. Geno Smith, 30 passing touchdowns.
So NFC West, first step is, can the Seahawks overcome San Francisco and win that division? And of course, the Rams, et cetera. But San Francisco primarily, can they win the division? Sure. I mean, we've talked about them. They've been quietly, I think, our dark horse team without us ever really nailing that to the mast and saying, we're Seahawks believers this season. But every time you look at that roster, you're like, this is a really good team. And then what was this, Geno Smith?
Geno Smith, 30 passing
30
touchdowns.
passing touchdowns.
You can look. It's right on the screen.
I can. I see it. It's there now.
It's easier than the document, just so you know.
No, that's true. I mean, yeah, it's doable. Does it take one for the other to happen? Is this like where Vegas doesn't let you combine your bets if they're contingent on each other?
They are kind of. I mean, if Geno throws 30 touchdowns, if they're going to win, Geno's probably throwing 30 touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
Unless Sam Howell comes in and saves the day. That is possible. I accept. And so Max21 in the chat.
So only 4 quarterbacks did that last year. Yeah. Dak, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy.
I accept. I'm more accepting now. More accepting of these bets.
More accepting.
But if we accept your bets, you have to let us know. You got to get back to us on what you're putting up here.
Okay.
Right? Presumably some good coffee from Seattle, from Ronald here.
Oh, yeah. Seattle's
right?
got to have some
Send some
coffee.
Seattle coffee.
Yeah.
Max in the chat calling me out. Last year, so he says, Steve, last year I called you a coward.
Oh.
For denying a bet that claimed the Patriots would win the division. You took offense to my claim. Do you see what I was saying now? I guess I do. I assume at the time I would have said, well, we didn't say the Patriots would win. We're only accepting bets where you're contradicting us.
Yeah.
And maybe we've expanded. We've expanded a little bit to just give us some bold claims, whether they agree or disagree with us. And
that's the thing.
Acceptable.
Did you ever, for the new audience, did you ever give the background of this, where this came from? Like,
I did a little bit.
What the theory was,
at
right?
the beginning. The theory initially was we said something so that you took such offense to that you wanted to put your money where your mouth was. Right. So like the Seahawks one doesn't really apply.
Well, we sort of feel like
we didn't say the Seahawks are trash, they're going to pick 5 overall, and then Ronald comes in, he's like, no, I believe they're going to win the division, and Geno Smith's going to put up 30 touchdowns.
We sort of feel like, we spend the entire offseason, no new football is happening, so our takes get fairly entrenched, right? Nothing major is changing, so we're generally speaking saying similar things and getting quite sort of set in our takes, right? This is what this team is going to do this year. This is what's going to happen with this team. And we're confident in it. Obviously, we're sort of honing these takes and becoming more and more believing in them. But if you think we're completely off, if you think, your analysis on the Texans this year or whatever is just ridiculous, that's what the bet is for. I think you're nuts. It's going to be 180 degrees, the opposite of what you're thinking. This is what it is instead. That's where the bet comes from. Well, if you think we're that wrong, let's have a bet on it.
Here's an example of one that applies to that fits the bill here. Caleb Williams. This is from Larry Wilson. Larry Wilson, yes. Caleb Williams doesn't break the Bears passing yards record, which is merely 3,838 yards.
Okay.
Because you and I have said this so many times, like we're expecting Caleb Williams to break
38-38 is what you said?
Yeah. 38-38, yes.
Okay.
We're expecting a 17-game schedule here too, Sam.
Yep.
We're expecting Caleb Williams to break these records, right? I mean, he's just going to stumble into 4,000, right, to kick off his career. And we've said this so many times, and Larry Wilson has come in and said, no, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's an example of
so this is an interesting one
where these come from.
Because 14 quarterbacks exceeded that total last year, right? Number 15 was Lamar Jackson at 36.78, including, by the way, rookie C.J. Stroud, who was at 4,100. So if you were setting an over-under line, and I haven't actually looked what that is because it's out there, but if you're setting an over-under line for Caleb Williams' passing total, it probably would be over that night, right? It would be the Bears' record. But it wouldn't be that much over. Like it's sort of within the margins of what he could do.
I don't really look at I don't look at passing yards a whole lot anymore. I just don't look at traditional stats a whole lot. But in the 17-game schedule, there's probably a lot of 4,000-yard passers now. Now, last year, remember, only 8 or 9 quarterbacks started and finished the season without injury. Right?
Yeah,
Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, so that's where the attrition of the season. You have the extra game, but it feels like last year in particular there was so many quarterback injuries as well. So it's tough to. That's the thing working against the Caleb Williams.
Yeah, obviously
but that one's accepted.
Injuries are a risk to it. Okay, his over/under for the season is 33.75. So it is over his, and that's one place. There's another one
That's based off injury, weather, and just general history of the Chicago Bears.
Yeah. So his over-under is somewhere between 3,375 and 3,500, depending on where you look. So it's definitely more than what Vegas determines essentially is the tipping point, his most likely outcome. But it's definitely achievable.
It's not an aggressive bet necessarily, but because we've said it so many times, I'll accept it.
All right.
This next one's going to be tougher to accept, I think.
Okay.
It's a little confusing, but Justin Kruger says the sum of PFF WAR for Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, and Rome Odunze will be less than the sum of the top 3 PFF WARs from the rest of the wide receiver class.
Okay.
So it's not...
So essentially the best 3 wide receivers in this class will not be the best 3 wide receivers as rookies.
Now that I read it, it's doable. So you're expecting like the next 3 receivers that are not the top 3 off the board.
Yeah.
That could be Ladd McConkey, that could be Keon Coleman,
Right.
that could be Xavier Worthy. Those guys are going to add up to more WAR than the big 3.
Yeah.
That's fair. Okay, I would accept that.
I think that's a cool bet to keep track of if nothing else, because it's a really good wide receiver class, but the entire framing of it all the way through the process was it is a big 3, then a gap, and then the next group, right? And a lot of people had Brian Thomas Jr. as that clear fourth guy. But the point being, it was like 3 clear superstars and then a huge gap to anybody else. And even with the next group, you were saying, we've run out of X receivers already. We've run out of those true number ones. And now it's like role players, it's situational guys, it's slot weapons. So I like that, again, if for no other reason than just to keep track of that.
If you're just tuning in to check the mic, if you're just, catching up here, we will be using PFF grades. We will be using PFF data. We're in PFF's studio. Great relationship with our friends over at PFF. And, that's a great place to go. Your last minute cramming for your draft right now.
Yep.
PFF.com. They've got some great stuff over there to help you with for your fantasy draft. So we will be keeping up and using the grades and analysis and data throughout the year. The other thing that you have to remember, we have a bunch of people, hundreds of people watching as we're growing this new channel. If you haven't subscribed yet on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. And if you're listening wherever you're listening to your podcast, just hit the subscribe button. Make sure that we're in your inbox, so to speak, every time we go live or every time a new podcast drops.
And apparently those 5-star Apple reviews are really helpful. I've never bothered looking why, but that's what they all tell you that.
They tell us that they're helpful. So if you're a friend of the show, and you are all friends of the show, please jump in. 5-star review, Apple, Spotify.
Walt in particular, for the amount of crap he gives us in the chat, I feel owes us a 5-star review.
Walt had better give us a 5-star review across
everything,
all mediums. Right.
Uh-huh.
I wonder if he listens and watches live. I
Who
wonder if he
knows?
re-listens and analyzes our work.
Yeah,
I'm sure he does.
Takes it in all on all platforms.
So please hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, do all the things, because we're trying. Help us grow this thing. It's our show. It's our show together. All the fans. All right, what's next? Next listener bet here. Hometown Cincinnati Bengals. Now, this is aggressive because as of record time right now, we don't have a practice report for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
So the prediction here is that Jamar Chase is going to play every snap of the season and have 1,550 yards, and the Bengals are going to have the number 1 seed from Ben Poffenberger. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's the prediction. And we don't have the practice. What I'm saying is the practice report today will give us some indication if Jamar Chase is even going to play this week. This bet could be done by Sunday.
Well, that's the thing. It's aggressive because it could fall at the first hurdle.
Now, plays every snap, we don't literally mean 100% participation
No,
rate.
but
We just mean he's a starter for
Correct.
17. Now, does this preclude injury? Is this basically saying he's not going to hold out?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it's, that's how
Well, like if he plays only 16 games for some reason and he gets the 1,550 and they get the number 1 seed, that's allowed. That's acceptable in this.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean he plays every game, but he's not going to hold out.
The point I think it's driving at is he's going to be there from the outset.
All right. It's a good aggressive bet, man. That's acceptable.
Yeah, okay. I like that. That holdout is interesting relative to the other wide receivers because he's a year earlier. This is like Justin Jefferson a year ago when he was getting he was agitating for the new contract, wanted to be paid. The Vikings wanted it to get done as well. They just simply didn't get around, or not around to. They didn't get it done before the season. But Jefferson wasn't, he wasn't going to put a line in the sand and say, I'm not going out there unless we get this deal done. He's like, okay, time to go to work. I'll get paid next offseason. And that's exactly what happened. He even got injured halfway through the year, still came back and got a record-setting, top of the market quarterback or top of the market wide receiver contract. It's pretty aggressive from Chase if he is like, no, I'm not going out there without the new deal, particularly for a team like the Bengals who, they've got a few lines in the sand that they don't tend to cross contractually. Maybe another team would balk and give him the contract, but I don't know that the Bengals are getting that done. And he's going to have to make that call of how much do I really want to push this?
So it's an aggressive bet. I expect Chase and Higgins. I just expect them to have a big year. So I think this is doable, but it's acceptable. The sixth one, Spencer Rattler replaces Derek Carr as the starter after Thanksgiving. That's week 13. It's from Matt Anderson. So Saints replacing Derek Carr as the starter.
Does this if it happens before Thanksgiving, does he win?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just he's going to get replaced.
I'm going to assume we reword this by Thanksgiving.
So just Derek Carr,
because after Thanksgiving, that doesn't mean like week 17. It's got to be by Thanksgiving.
By Thanksgiving,
or say like by December 1st. Is that what's he going for here?
It's Derek Carr being benched for Spencer Rattler at some point, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah. He gets benched, but it can't be the way Carr was benched with the Raiders, which was like, hey, last 2 games, and we're going with Jarrett Stidham a couple years ago.
But that was only to protect the money.
Right, so it can't be that. It's got to be, I'll accept this. And then again, Matt, you can rewrite in if we're not.
For form, like for footballing reasons.
So we're going to rewrite this for him. And if Matt doesn't want to accept the rewrite, he can
walk away.
He can let us know.
Yeah.
Spencer Rattler replaces Derek Carr as a starter by Thanksgiving.
Okay.
I think that's what he's after here.
Okay.
I would even give him until December 1st, the week after Thanksgiving, whatever that looks like. And that's an aggressive enough prediction. Somewhat common though.
Yeah.
There's a Spencer Rattler hive out there.
This is not.
This to happen.
These are a lot more tame, I think, than previous bets where we've been like, "There's no chance that happens." Like that's definitely achievable. Remember, like the first year we did this, we only accepted bets where it's like, there's 0 chance that ever comes off, and yet those are the ones that stung us.
Yeah. Well, the first year was all Geno Smith.
That's what I mean. Like it's like there's 0 chance that Geno Smith ends up being better than Aaron Rodgers, and yet that's what happened.
All right. I had to get a quick tweet out reminding people what we got going on here. I don't like the news coming out of Bengals camp here, by the way.
What news?
From Paul Daner.
Yeah.
That Cincinnati won't put Jermaine Burton out there or even make him active on game day.
Inactive on game day?
Until they feel comfortable he's preparing in meetings, will be in the right spots, and can be trusted by the quarterback. It sounds far more likely a redshirt year lies ahead than anything else.
That little sequence of words you just threw out there, confident that he's preparing in meetings, that's not good for Jermaine Burton's stance.
I also thought that after we hugged it out on the practice field, that might give him the boost that he needed to perform up to expectations.
Well, maybe what he needed was a stern word from you. Hey, Jermaine, I've got a lot invested in your success.
I do. Yeah.
Make sure you keep yourself together.
Maybe when I said, hey, you're my wide receiver 4, it was like,
I've made it.
It's
like a guy getting the contract.
Yeah.
I don't need to show up anymore. I've made it.
I'm not a master motivator, you see.
No.
Doing the opposite.
I mean, genuinely, all jokes aside, for a guy whose red flag was that, right? Does he prepare? Does he want to put the work in? Can he keep himself together? That's pretty concerning, because from a talent perspective, I mean, everybody's been saying all the way through training camp, all the way through preseason, et cetera, this guy has the ability to be like a serious part of this offense, not just, a factor in the future or somebody that could flash here or there, but like he could take over wide receiver 3 at some point if he wants to get himself on the right page. If we've gone from that to he doesn't prepare in meetings and we can't really trust him at all, he might not play this year, that's not good.
Give him a year.
Give him a year.
I mean, you can't just say run a 9 every now and then.
Why not?
Run by the corner. Let's go.
I would.
All right. Anyway, that was not part of the script. So this is a good one. This is the next few are from the Discord.
Yep.
All right. Jordan Smith 11 on the Discord. Bills will miss the playoffs. So that's his choice here.
Yeah.
If he's wrong,
Yeah.
and I don't think he's wrong, which makes me,
I think this is going to happen. Definitely.
I think they're going to make the playoffs.
Oh, so you do think he's wrong?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I'm confusing myself with double negatives here. Yeah, I do think he's wrong.
Yeah.
If he's wrong, we're going to get either $50 worth of Urbana coffee.
Yeah.
Is it Urbana or Urbana?
I don't know.
But it's coffee.
Whatever.
To both of us. That's
Yeah.
$100 worth of coffee.
It is.
Or a $50 Jeff Ruby's gift card for both of us.
Which
Now,
I think we would have to
I
choose.
love Jeff Ruby's, but that'll get us half a steak each.
That's what I'm saying.
I love Ruby's.
We're gonna
It is
have
the
to-
best steakhouse around, but that gets us half a
Yeah.
steak. I'd probably lean for the coffee.
Yeah.
Just because it would go a little bit further.
So it means between us, we could get one steak, and I'm not sharing a steak with you because that's not coming out.
Presumably, we would have to buy other stuff.
Right. We're not coming
Pay
out of
for
that
more.
well. I
Yeah.
would get a bite of steak.
And this isn't a knock on Ruby's. I suggest everybody goes to Jeff Ruby's.
Correct. It's worth it. I'm just saying that's not a lot of food from
The coffee, though, we'll get some mileage out of that.
Yes.
So, accepted.
Yeah.
I expect that to happen.
Okay. I like that one.
So that's from Jordan Smith. That's in the Discord.
Yep.
The other ones I'll just read out. We don't necessarily have graphics for them, but I'll read these out of the Discord here. What's that? Ryan OH?
Yeah.
The 49ers will have 4 1,000 receiving yard players. Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, and McCaffrey. That's aggressive. Has
that ever happened? No. Right?
I think three
has happened a couple of times.
has happened.
And have they all been with Peyton Manning at quarterback? He did it in Indy with Dallas Clark, Reggie Wayne, and Marvin Harrison. I think he did it in that year in Denver when he had Demaryius Thomas, Julius Thomas, and Decker.
Did the Vikings do it with their trio? Did Jake Reed get over 1,000? With Moss and Carter?
I don't know that they ever did it that.
Somebody
that
check for
time.
us. I mean, this is a ridiculous prediction.
Well, we just said last year. Right?
Well, wait. 17 game schedule. Anything can happen.
Well, so over 17 games last year, leading the league in average per attempt, Brock Purdy passed for 4,280 yards. So for this to happen, 4,000 of the 4,280 would need to go to 4 guys, and everything
no
else.
Jawan Jennings, no Ricky Pearsall,
Right.
no Kyle Juszczyk. We're not targeting any of those
Ever.
guys.
Those guys get nothing for the entire season. And
So Ryan absolutely deserves a T-shirt and hat.
correct. And those guys all have to stay pretty much healthy for that to happen as well. And, McCaffrey as a running back needs to get over 1,000. This is this is the perfect bet in terms of the chances of this happening are infinitesimally small. So, of course, we accept it.
Yes. So
And yet
that's
those are
accepted.
the ones that sting us.
2 more here to get through. Tom H. Sam Darnold will have a higher PFF grade and more WAR than Aaron Rodgers.
We're attempting to recreate the Geno Smith bets that stung us so badly.
Now, did we voided a bet last year that was similar to this, right? Someone made Jordan Love will have a higher grade
Yeah.
than Aaron Rodgers, and we voided it because of the Achilles snap.
Right.
This one I think should be unvoidable because I believe the heart of this is also predicting some injury for Aaron Rodgers.
Oh.
WAR is more cumulative of
Okay.
a production stat. Grade is more of a per snap evaluation. But to have higher WAR, that could be like, hey, Rodgers gets hurt after 8 games, Darnold plays the whole season. But he's doubling down on both grade and WAR.
Okay.
I think it's acceptable.
So you think that regardless, if Rodgers lasts 3 snaps and snaps his Achilles again and has a grade in the 20s, you
It's
think
acceptable.
it's still cool?
I think it's
even
cool.
if Sam Darnold. What if he plays the entire season and isn't good? Like he ends up with a grade of 50-something, but it's still better than Rodgers because he only lasted 3 snaps.
The heart of I think we have to accept it no matter what happens.
I feel like this
There's
is
no
one,
sample size.
No sample. I feel like this is like the Geno one, where the point is to capture something unusual about Sam. Like it's not a Rodgers. This to me reads more like a Darnold will be good,
Yeah.
than a Rodgers is an injury waiting to happen.
I mean, either way, it's bold.
Okay, I mean, I'm willing to take it, but I feel like
I'm
the
just saying,
reason we voided it.
If he had just said grade, you
Right.
void it after 4 snaps. But
Okay.
he's saying grade and war, which bakes in some of the accumulation of value.
Okay.
So that's aggressive from Tom H.
Yep.
And this is my favorite one.
Yeah. It's also the best name.
Skateboarding cat in the Discord. Be sure to get to the Discord. All right. Do all the things. Get to the Discord. Hit the thumbs up on the show. Hit the subscribe button and the alert buttons and all the things you're supposed to do. Do all that stuff before we leave. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Here we go. Skateboarding cat says, Harry, that's my son,
It is.
his picks will have a higher percentage of being correct than Bo Nix's 2024 PFF grade.
Okay.
Coffee anteed up from Coffea Roasteria in South Dakota.
South Dakota.
Now I really want this to happen.
South Dakota known for its coffee
I don't know.
production?
I'd love to find out. For this to happen,
Yep.
Harry, so either Bo Nix, so the best you can hit against the spread in a season, like the best experts might hit 57, 58%.
Right.
You might touch 60 in a season, and I just wouldn't trust you for next season. You just hit a great run.
Yeah.
Okay? So that means Harry would have to have an expert-like run in his picks, which he has in him.
Well,
Sharp kid.
so
Yeah.
let's put this.
Or Bo Nix's PFF grade
Yes.
is in the 40s.
So that's where let's compare this to last season's rookies, right? Guys that played a half decent. Let's ramp this up to 50. No, 50's too hard. All right. Guys that played a chunk of snaps, right, which is going down as far as 5 games worth of Tyson Bagent. Are we doing overall or passing grade?
I mean, if either of these hits, I feel like
Anything.
he wins. But
Okay.
it's the overall.
Well, let's
because
stick-
there'll be some fumbles in there.
Let's stick with
that
passing
would need to
because that
happen.
actually, at least based off last year, gives you a little bit more margin to win this bet. Obviously, CJ Stroud at the top, 79.6 passing grade, no shot, right? Aiden O'Connell, second amongst rookies with a 64.6 passing grade, also very much no shot. If Harry ends up picking 65% against the spread over the season, you need to send him to Vegas.
Well, he's coming to Circa.
Get him.
with us
I was going
next
to say,
time.
get him into Circa. He'll have to relay his bet through you, otherwise that's illegal.
I can't actually get him into Circa. Yes.
Right. That's the other problem. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, Tommy DeVito, Cutlets, number 3, 64.4, also implausible. Will Levis, 61.6, still pretty implausible. Now, 2 quarterbacks. Bryce Young, the number 1 overall pick, 52.6%. That's doable. That's achievable.
That's doable.
Tyson Bagent, the worst of the rookies that played any kind of significant snaps, 50.8. So he has to be over 50% against the spread for this to have any shot of coming off, really.
Which is challenging enough.
And Bo Nix needs to be pretty bad for this to be a race.
Yeah, we also need Harry to not get grounded and banned from football like he did.
Well, no,
for
because
one
he
of the
didn't
2
say
weeks.
there's no.
just
he
a
doesn't have
percentage.
he doesn't have a threshold on it. He doesn't have to be pick 65% against the spread and pick all the games.
Yeah. Based off Harry's discipline patterns, I would expect him to have picks in for at least 14 of the 17
Okay.
regular season weeks.
I mean, maybe Harry's secret to this success is to actually less is more. You know,
Yeah, maybe just-
the fewer games he picks.
it's a rough week. Time to act up.
Right.
Get banned for a week.
Exactly.
Tough picks this week. He's excited. He's excited to get going. Is there anything illegal about having my 9-year-old pick against the spread?
As long as he's not doing it for like in a casino, I think it's probably.
Think we're okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
it's
just
all for fun.
Yes.
If anyone's checking here.
for fun, publishing his picks online is probably cool. Making money off them, less so, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But these are all things you can check with the legal department.
Get the legal department on that. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, so that's it for our bets. You could drop a few more in the Discord. I think there was one related to Jermaine Burton and his lack of production based
Yeah.
off some inside info before it became public, and we'll go accept that one as well.
Oh, insider trading?
From
You're
Aaron.
saying that's what's happened?
From one of our the admins that I saw. So we'll accept that as well.
Okay.
Some
Even
Jermaine
though-
Burton hate.
Oh man, you accepting Jermaine Burton hate? Is this because you're like you can't back away from that now? You have to defend your boy.
I mean,
even though it sounds
whatever
like he
happens,
might-
it's listen. If he can't, I feel like I've already won.
A one.
We've seen his production in the preseason. We've seen what he's capable of. From what I could see, I was right. The dude is uncoverable on the field. He's
Okay.
a big play threat. All of that. If he's not learning the plays and taking naps during meetings, that's out of my hands.
Yeah.
Out of my hands. But my evaluation on Jermaine Burton, already correct.
You know the way for sometimes when you have prospects like that are seen as something of a character concern, it's like, well, what the team needs to do is to simply assign a minder to that guy, right? And this guy's gonna be with you 24/7. He's gonna make sure that you don't step out of line because we got too much money and picks and all that kind of stuff invested in you. You can't screw up. This guy is gonna make sure that happens. I feel like with all you have invested in Jermaine Burton, you should be his minder. He's local. Why are you letting him out of your sight?
You want me to walk through the playbook with him?
Yes.
All right, Jermaine, you're the Z on this play.
Right.
What's your assignment?
Why are you not? It's a day before, opening night. It's a few days before opening weekend. Why are you not right now coaching Jermaine Burton up?
Point. I should probably help him out.
Yeah.
I could be part of the solution.
You could be there in 5 minutes.
Yeah. All right. Jermaine, let me know. We'll talk. I'll help you out. Walk through the playbook. It's a good show. Look at that. Made it through all the papers.
Perfect.
Right on time.
Beautiful.
Bill Belichick's on our team. We got all sorts of fun stuff happening today.
Uh-huh.
So remember, listen, just so you don't forget what we're doing tomorrow, week 1 preview show. Okay? Tell your friends. Let everybody know. We're going game by game, previewing every game for week 1 on Thursday. We'll be back Monday morning, reviewing every single game. We usually average about 2.5 hours for that Monday morning show.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we've got a 3-hour. I mean, got nowhere else to be now. Could be 3. Could be 3.5 hours. Who knows how long it's going to go. I've been pushing you. Maybe we're even going to do an instant reaction Thursday night, depending on what happens Thursday night on YouTube. Friday night, Brazil game, all sorts of fun stuff coming up. But you're not going to get it if you don't subscribe. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the thumbs up on your way out, and hit the subscribe button wherever you're listening to check the mic in podcast land. Sound good?
Let's go.
All right. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again tomorrow. Season starts. Check the mic tomorrow morning.